Hey everybody, this is Saline Hardliners again, coming at you. And tonight we've got I'm Keith Kellum. I'm the host and co-host, Kevin Bradshaw.
How's it going, guys?
Last week we got Mike Schnagel. We got Tim Crawley back with us. He was with us. They were both with us last week, talking about SB 1564 and 1567. And I believe 1564 failed in committee and 1567 hadn't come up with, but we're going to talk about what this means and kind of we did have a success, and Tim's been fighting this really hard, and Mike and Tim Crawley, he's a well-known race car driver, promoter with to me Highway 67.
Yeah, 67 Speedway in Texarkana.
Yeah, he's a part owner of that and a promoter of that. So I'm going to give this over to Mike and Tim and let them talk a little bit about 1564. So we are going to have Jimmie Cavin on later on the second half of the show, talk about some other bills. But let's get on this right now, and you guys tell us what you got.
Well, first, I'd like to thank Tim for coming on again and all the work that he put in last week, because for the listeners and viewers that were here, HB 1564 came out of the gates really hard and caught a lot of traction with people in a negative light, because what it was seeking to do was restrict racetracks and race promoters to the extent where it was almost going to shut down their businesses in the motorsports industry in the state of Arkansas. And with Tim being a track manager and I believe part owner there at Highway 67 Speedway in Texarkana, it was going to affect him very negatively, and it just happened to run across Tim's post that Tim had put out, saying, hey, look, 1564 had popped up, reached out to Tim and got Tim's take on it. So we're going to, just ask Tim right now how he feels about the information he has right now, because I will say this, 1564 was read across the table on Wednesday. When it was read across let's go in complete order. 1564 was put in a deferred status on Tuesday by Representative Long. When Representative Long put it in a deferred status, he asked for it to be read across the table on Wednesday. So in Wednesday's committee meeting, it was read across the table, which means that bill is, for all intensive purposes, killed right now. So there is no 1564 bill. My understanding is that bill cannot be brought back in that form, and that 1564 cannot be used again because it was read back across the table. If it would just been left in deferred status, they could have amended that bill and made changes to it and moved forward out of committee with that. My understanding is that bill is completely dead right now. So we're going to ask for Tim's take on this because it affected him. And I'll say this, Tim was very integral in this getting killed, because he reached out. He had multiple people in the motorsports industry that he is in contact with, SEMA people, drag racing people from across the United States that have massive followings that got involved in this because of the social media storm that this brought about by Tim and the Ridge and a gentleman up in Northwest Arkansas. I can't recall his name right now. Tim will probably be able to tell me his name, but he's a county judge and an engine builder. So I'm going to defer this to Tim right now and get Tim's take on where this is at and how he feels about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. Again, I'm not an attorney, not a politician, so I actually learned a lot last week sitting in and attending a legislative breakfast there at home, Saline County. And I don't know, when it started up last Monday morning, a few people reached out. I got phone calls, got text. It started off my phone, it just blew up, and it seemed serious enough that I felt like I needed to basically just kind of rearrange a lot I had on the schedule for last week and see what I could figure out on this whole deal. So after moving forward on it and everybody reaching out to me. And then when y'all called, Mike, you got in touch with me. It gained a lot of traction really fast, as it should have. I mean, I don't think, after learning what we learned with Long's bill, in a way, I sincerely believe that the intention wasn't to damage or stop any kind of motorsports, but it's just the way it was written. Um, I think inadvertently it would have. And again, I don't necessarily say that was the intention, but the way it was written, it would have had some very detrimental effects on anything basically with an engine on it statewide. So anybody with any kind of businesses, motorsports related wise, motocross, side-by-sides, drag racing, monster trucks. I mean, we kind of went on and on about that. The umbrella was really going to open up and it was going to grab all these people. So as soon as word got out, I don't know really the reasoning last week. I guess the sponsor and Long had other obligations last week that they couldn't attend and be there when it was first scheduled to go through. But anyway, and since then, yes, been a lot of questions. I've been getting a lot of people ask, hey, what does it mean? What does deferred mean? Can this thing resurface as it was with just some, minor adjustments to the amendments? Can they rewrite it, just a few lines of amendment change and it resurface? So that's been a lot of questions I've heard, which you answered a lot of that, I believe, when you just, described the difference in it being brought through committee, I assume today, or just deferred and being silent. So those are all things that, from the political side of how bills work, I'm not familiar with, but you answered that, I believe, quite a bit, Mike. And then, so I think that pretty much squashes 1564, I believe, but then I've also been asked a lot about, I guess it's McClure, that 1567 bill. And me and you talked about it a little bit before this went live, but does that 1567 really affect the motorsports industry as a whole, or is it basically referring to just side-by-sides, motorcycles, things of that nature? And you explained it to me before, and I guess I would ask that you do it again now that we're live, but you explained that it basically is kind of opening up and getting motocross and side-by-side type scenario drug into an existing bill that will just basically kind of get those guys and those type of events in compliance with, insurance, city ordinance, code along those lines. I'll let you elaborate on 1567 because again, I may not be exactly wording it correctly.
Well, and what's happening with 1567, which is the bill that has been brought forward by Representative McClure, he's actually my District 29 state rep, is it is a change in the definition of what motorsports is, and it is a change to Arkansas Code subsection 8-10-305A. And what it is going to do is that used to be just stated as automobiles or trucks that are modified for racing. What it's going to do now is it's going to add all-terrain vehicles as defined in subsection 27-21-102, or all-terrain vehicles that are modified for racing, or motorcycles that are modified for racing. So what it's doing is it's going to change it from just being an automotive law or act, and it's going to add motorcycles and UTVs to these is what I'm seeing here side by sides. It'll encompass basically all of motorsports that is in Arkansas, and it'll be handled by your quorum courts because these laws are handed down to your county judges and your county quorum courts, which is where we thought this bill should have been to begin with. Is it shouldn't have been getting handled by the state to begin with. And the argument was, well, if we're not getting our issues addressed at the county level, because there was, I believe it was 67 people had signed a petition about the ridge, because this all came about because of an off-road facility in northeast Arkansas, a place called the Ridge. And I believe, and I'm thankful to Representative Long for this, that he did reach out to the Ridge owners the new owners, because there is a new owner there that is going to make some concessions, or he was looking to upgrade the park as it is already, and he was going to work with the county on getting those issues taken care of, which should have been where they were taken care of to begin with. But when it wasn't being taken care of to their liking, then they reached out to Representative Long to take care of those issues. But 1567 is not going to impact, as it is written right now, motorsports in any way other than adding motorcycles and ATVs, UTVs to the equation, which is going to affect motocross facilities and off-road parks is going to be what's basically added to this, because of the vehicles that they allow on their properties to race, weekend activities, whatever it may be. It's not going to affect the dirt track racers. It's not going to affect the drag strips. It's not going to change, and it's not really changing anything in the law other than adding motorcycles and UTVs to it.
I don't really understand the purpose of that bill. Why you need it? Because I mean, without the 1564, which, you know, like Tim was saying, we were talking it, they seem to be related. Rick McClure swears up and down they're not.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I lean toward they are a little.
I mean, they got to be. I mean, it's awful funny that they're both. I mean, it's not like every day you have bills on auto racing. It's just not I mean, I've never seen one come up before. You know, that's not your norm. So to have two of them all of a sudden pop up at the same time that are related, but without 1564 passing, I don't see how they what the need is for the 1567. But so
yeah, and what the you would think legislative affairs would have caught that, because they're the ones who, all the bills goes through legislative affairs before it makes it back to someone to sponsor it, or someone has already sponsored it and they want it to come forward. And it had the exact 1564 had the exact same language in the first page in the second paragraph. So you would have thought, hey, look, you know,
I thought the same person was
exact same. Yeah,
I thought it was the same sponsor myself until I looked down, you know, and it was kind of funny. It's awful strange. I would have not wanted, if I was doing the bill, I wouldn't want them put together like that myself. They weren't meant to be.
No, and we seen that Rick washed his hands of it really quick. And
well, he didn't pull it.
I'm back.
Yeah,
he didn't pull it. Do you think? I mean,
right now he's got it pulled. It's in a deferred status. So,
okay, it may still stay. It can stay deferred till everything's over with. But I guess.
Yeah, and and this is one that I'll watch. I have actually a notification set on it.
I don't really know what it's doing. You know, it's just saying that. I mean, it's kind of a common sense thing. You already know. I mean, I don't know. It's just definitions is all it is. It's short.
Well, and I'm glad Tim's back on. Tim, we don't got your video if you can hear me. 3 point, you know, after our podcast last week, you know, got into it and done a little bit more research. Motorsports accounts for $3.2 billion in Arkansas. $3.2 billion. That's with a B. That is a lot of money that was going to be impacted.
3.2 billion?
3.2 billion.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's actually what I saw was SEMA and PRI's analytics, whatever. I saw 3.42, because I've got it here, a report they did. It's 3.42 billion with $419 million tax related revenue, and like 15,000 jobs that they estimated employees in the state of Arkansas. So it's pretty healthy impact.
Do you guys have the numbers on how much it failed by in committee on 1564?
1564 didn't even come up for a vote. It got read across the table and pulled down. It never made it to any vote in a committee. It got pulled down before it made it to a vote.
Oh, they got pulled.
Yeah.
Long pulled it.
Yeah. And then it got read across the table, because when he pulls it, it goes.
Which is what we wanted done. We wanted to pull it. We didn't even want to go to a vote.
when he pulls it, it goes into a deferred status, and it stays in a deferred status until it's read across the table. That's what they call it at the Capitol. When a bill's getting pulled completely out, it gets read across the table. And then once it's read across the table, that bill is finished. It can't be amended. It can't be touched again. That, for all intensive purposes, in this legislative session, you will not see a 1564, an HB 1564 again.
Well, it's not going to be popular. I mean, you know,
Well, and I was talking to Tim about
there's
this
been
a
a lot
little
of
bit
good
earlier,
lobby against it.
and we need to find out who it is. I hope one of the listeners is listening out there and can reach out to myself, Tim, Keith, or Kevin. There's supposedly a counter bill out there that's working its way through right now that should be presented in the very near future. That is kind of a counter bill to that, to kind of solidify and protect these off-road parks. Because one of the things that Wayne Long did say that stuck with me, and Tim will be able to speak to this, is that he did want to have a bill come forward that has the ability for surrounding landowners to sue the property owners of these motorsports facilities for loss of property value. And I think that is and I want us to get in front of that right now before it even happens. That is a horrible ideal. That is no different than if I build a house across the street from you and I decide I want to build a $2 million house across the street from your $1,500 house or your $15,000 house, whatever it is. And now your property value goes up to $500,000. Do I get to go knock on that guy's door and say, hey, I want $450,000 in appreciation off of your property? That's no different than what they're getting ready to do to Tim right now. And Tim, I'd like to ask your views.
That's just a lawsuit magnet's what that's going to
Yeah. Tim, what is your views on if something like that happens?
Well, we talked about that before. It'd be the same difference as everyone that owns a home around Little Rock Air Force Base all of a sudden decides to sue the government because of the testing that our Army does every day, or move in beside the railroad tracks that's been there for 100 years. And now I'm going to sue Union Pacific because, you know, for the train noise, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm totally in disagreement with that avenue as well.
Well, and something I want to say, and I'm sure Tim will before we log off, I want to thank all the listeners, all the people watching this, everyone that rallied and went to the Capitol, everyone that got on the phone and called their legislator, everyone that got on the phone and called anyone that had anything to do with this bill, made a Facebook post, done anything to help get this bill killed. This is something this is a bill that I will remember for the rest of my time because it taught me something very important. It's better to be in front of something than behind it. And because they were in front of this, Tim and them, I don't know how they got wind of it as quick as they did, and they were in front of this. They were able to kill this bill before it ever made it out of a committee. That is a very important takeaway to take away from this bill this time, is being in front of it with hundreds of thousands. I know I looked at Tim's social media profiles a while ago, and I think just last week alone, Tim's well over probably 30,000 views on his videos, 40,000 views. That's because people were very interested in this bill because it was going to impact everyone, not just the racers,
why it got
families.
pulled.
Yeah, and that's why it got pulled. And that's why it got
would not have gotten pulled if there hadn't been squeaky wheels.
Right. No, I appreciate you guys and helping us getting the message out. Mike definitely called, and like I said, there was a certain point there I thought, man, I need to stay away from this and let it run its course. And then I thought, man, there's no way. I don't think anybody. Well, and it's not just, you know, thinking of myself. There's so many others that were involved in this, so it was going to affect a lot of people.
Because people, I don't think, would have realized what, your common person, say, that goes to the track, not involved with racing, but likes to watch. I don't think that they would have caught on of what destruction it would have done. And that's what a lot of these bills do.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy peace and quiet as much as the next guy, you know, and I understand disturbance and all that, but it's like we talked about. This should have been dealt with right there in the city, county, whatever, where the problem was. It didn't need to be a statewide issue, and all these amendments in that bill were just absurd. And again, it just take care of it right there in your city, county, or judge within your issue or your problem. And there was just no reason for this to be some absurd statewide bill, you know.
Mhm.
I heard another guy say, you know, it was like somebody was trying to drive a tack with a sledgehammer, you know. It
Yeah.
was just all kinds of overreach, in my opinion.
And I don't think people realize, and Tim made a post about this weekend because Tim had a practice at his track this weekend, the first practice of this season, and he hit the nail on the head when he done this. There's kids running around the track, there's kids in the bleachers, there's kids running around in the pits. This is a very family-oriented sport. I know when I had my kids growing up and they were coming through their young years, you know, we raced go-karts. My daughter, we got her all the way to pro trucks out in Florida. So we were very avid in racing, and that's what we were interested in our extracurricular activities we done as a family was at racetracks, whether it be dirt tracks, asphalt tracks. We were at some track almost somewhere across the United States almost every weekend. And I can, Tim, you coming up and the people you've seen, what people are at these sporting facilities, racetracks on a weekly basis every weekend?
Every ethnicity, every age group, every demographic. I mean, you see everything. I mean, it's across the board on the type of people that are all, you know, involved. So, but no, I need to thank you guys especially. I mean, it took a lot of people to make this move in the manner it did. So it was a lot of people. It was an army of people. There was no one or two people that made this happen.
Yeah, and it definitely took off, and man, I just can't say it enough. Thanks to listeners. Hey, like, share, and
Jimmie
subscribe.
Cavin.
Keep up
Everybody
with
say
Tim.
hello to Jimmie.
Hey, Jimmie, keep
Hey,
up with.
guys.
Pay
Hey.
attention to what Tim's got going on. Tim's got some big races coming here this year. High limits, sprint cars is coming. Tim, if you would just take a couple of minutes and kind of plug the facility there and tell us what you got going on this year at your facility, if you don't mind, real quick.
Yeah, we kind of swung for the fences this year. First couple of seasons, Mother Nature's not played so friendly, so we're going to play with the odds. So we just almost double booked what we've done in the last 2 seasons. So I figure at least if Mother Nature wants to be not friendly to us again, at least if we get half of them in, you know, we're ahead of the game. But yeah, we've got a lot of shows. We got a big late model show the end of this month, high limits the end of next month, and the specials are scattered all the way through the year. We got a monster truck show in September. Everybody knows the outdoor monster trucks really, you know, put on a good show, and so we're really looking forward to 25.
And for y'all that don't know what high limits is, I'm a super big sprint car fan. That is 410 Outlaw sprint cars. You're going to see the likes of Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson, possibly. You know, if Kyle's schedule is free, you'll see Kyle Larson at that show in Texarkana. He's fun to watch. Brad Sweet. Will your son be participating in that high limit show if it comes here, Tim?
I don't think so. It's not on his schedule. They'll be out west at that time, so unfortunately not.
Well, Tim,
Well, we're glad everything came out on the bill.
Yes. Again,
And,
thank you guys.
and hey, if they give us trouble again, we'll jump on them again.
Hey, we're neighbors, right?
Right. And you know, it was a bad bill. It got put in its place. And carry on. I hope you have a great season and a great, you know, everybody go check him out down in Texarkana. You want a good night of entertainment? Was it Saturday nights or Friday and Saturday?
A little bit of both. The majority of our shows are Friday, but we've got some big stock car races that are 3-day weekends, actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That one high limits is a Wednesday. Probably about 70% of our shows are on Friday nights, though, but we got some of both.
Tim, what is your Speedway? What is the racetrack channel on Facebook that they can follow you guys on Facebook? And can they find you on a website? If you would just go ahead and put that out there real quick.
Pretty much all you've got to do is type in 67 Speedway and you'll get us anywhere. all social media platforms and our webpage, everything's 67 Speedway.
And 67 Speedway, ladies and gentlemen, is in Texarkana, Arkansas, on the border of Texarkana and Texas, the west side of the state, pretty centrally located on the western border. So I encourage you all to give them a shout. Go out there and take a look. They've got a very, very nice facility that they are continuing to work on. Matter of fact, I believe Tim's in Texarkana now this week, taking care of the track. But Tim, once again, man, thank you for coming on. If we got anything else motorsports related, we'd love to have you on again, buddy.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Keep me plugged in there.
We will. Let us know.
Thank you.
We can help. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Yep.
Well, we got the original Pink Panther here with us tonight.
He don't have on the button-up shirt though. They got in trouble for at the committee meeting.
Where's your shirt, man? Jimmie Cavin.
I only bring that out
The
for
legend
special
of Lonoke
occasions.
County.
What's down here?
That was hilarious at the Capitol. I got the biggest kick out of that, and it's really exploded on social media, getting a kick out of it. Of course, I love it because there are people on there that go, "Oh, Jimmie, you look terrible. You know, you look like you look like you're drunk or something." And then I got other people that say, "Oh man, Jimmie, you look great. You know, we love that shirt." And which is fun though, right? Which is fun, and so I like it when people poke fun at me and go at me, and then other people support. So it's really blown up on social media, which is great. It's entertaining, right?
Yep.
It's entertaining, and it brings a little maybe entertainment and levity to some real serious situations.
Well, we just had Tim Crawley on, and he was interested in that SB 1564 and 67, which mainly 1564, which was going to pretty well going to destroy racing. And there's a lot of racing fans in the state. Anyway, we want to run a victory lap on that because they pulled that dude.
Yeah, and
after last week,
I go back to the 60s and 70s, and the old dirt tracks, and going around, and where I grew up on the farm, we had our own dirt tracks that we'd set up in fields, and so yeah, and I'm glad they both failed. Yeah.
Well, what do you got? What do you got going? What do you want to talk about tonight on the Hammer Bills? We'll start out with the Hammer Bills, where we're at on all those.
Sure, I'm game on that. They're going to the House floor. They've been through the Senate. They're going to the House floor, and it's not going to pass overwhelmingly. I do expect them to pass. It was a dogfight in the House committee this week, although they did pass in the committee. I can tell you a little bit about them if you want. There was
let me ask you one thing real quick. How close were they? I mean, what was the kind of, did they landslide out, or did they pretty close?
No, it wasn't a landslide at all, and that's the reason they're still hoping the House to stop it. It was not a landslide in the Senate. I don't expect it to be a landslide in the House. What we've got here is basically the swamp party. Okay, the swamp party is what I call them. Let's be real. What we're facing at the state capitol, and we've talked about it before, is the majority of the state are conservatives. Okay, overwhelming majority. But at the capitol, you have the Democratic Party, and then you have true Republicans, and then you have, I used to call it the Purple Party, but I've graduated them to the Swamp Party. And the problem is the swamp party at the state legislature is overwhelmingly the majority. And that's what you're seeing on these freedom-taking bills and these bills that are going through that are putting industry over people, profit over people, and lobbyists over people. And this is actually the case here with Senator Cam Hammer's bill. Everybody knows about him. There was a series that they've been pushing through to attack the citizen-initiated amendment process and the citizen-initiated act process that the state constitution guarantees. The legislature, the swamp party, does not like citizen legislation, right, guys? I mean, they've been adamantly against citizen legislation. And this is just more ways to do it. And it actually gets to the absurd. And so Senate Bill 209, which Senator Hammer is one of this series of bills, here's what it is, guys, and I think the listeners, this should infuriate them. What it is when we've all been at Walmart during campaign season, leading up to elections, where there are ballot initiatives and people actually sign a petition to get this on the ballot or that on the ballot, right? And what it requires now is that those people asking for signatures, those canvassers, have to read you the amendment or the act that's going to be on the ballot. Well, some of these things are 10,000 words. And so they're requiring to say, hey, now they're making a law that says before you, I, or any citizen can sign that petition, we have to read that entire ballot title in front of the canvasser gathering the signature. Well, these things are really long. And so the Secretary of State's office testified in these committees that basically on average, it takes 8 minutes to read them. So if I go to Walmart and there's a canvasser out there getting signatures and I know about the amendment, something that I want to sign, so I go, yeah, I want to sign that. So I have to go, so let's say there's 10 people ahead of me. Okay. So now I have to wait for those 9 or those 10 ahead of me to read the ballot title to the guy getting the signature before they can sign to move over so the next person can sign. So what used to take literally just a couple of minutes, now if there's 10 people in front of me, I have to wait 1 hour and 20 minutes.
And they're not going to do that.
No. Hell, I'm not going to do it.
No. Give it to me.
So basically what it's done is excuse me, that's 210. I'll talk about 209. But basically what that does is that creates a train wreck, right? A train wreck by design, because the swamp party in the legislature does not want citizen-led amendments or acts. So how do they stop it? They put up roadblocks. Well, this is a massive roadblock, right? And but where I got, when I testify in committee, the other thing is I'm going, look, hold on just a second. Who the hell do you think you are to tell me that I got what I can and cannot sign without reading something? If I want to sign something without reading it, I'll do it. I don't need you to parent me and tell me that I can't sign something unless I read it. Now, generally, do I want to read and understand things I sign? Yes, I do. But what if I don't? When did it become illegal to be a dumbass? Okay.
Because people will ask you, when I've done it myself, when I've gone out canvassed on, people will come up to you. A lot of them will just sign it. A lot of them, most of them do want to know what it's about, but they want to know what they want to know. They don't want to know what you're wanting to tell them. They want to know what they want to know, and they'll ask you the question if they really want to know it. But I always, you usually always tell them what it's about, so it kind of works.
And the ballot title is attached to every petition. And so everybody signs a petition has the opportunity to read that ballot title if they want to before they sign. And when I canvassed for the FOIA bills, that's what I said. I said, look, here's the ballot title. Take your time. If you want to step over here and read it, step over there and read it. But it goes back to government mandating, right? So my argument to them was, I'll say, okay, so now you're telling me that I'm not allowed to sign anything on a petition, only the citizen initiative, right? They're just doing it for this only. Well, why is that? To keep citizen initiatives from happening. So if you're going to tell me, okay, in the theory, what Ken Hammer says, well, we want to make sure you understand it before you sign it. Okay. So I came back at him in the committee meeting. I said, all right. So let's take this one step further. If you're telling me that I can't sign a petition until I read the ballot title and understand it. So now what are you going to do next? You're going to tell me when I go to the voting booth, when I go in November to vote, the polling site, when I walk in and there's an amendment or an act on the ballot? Or are you going to say, wait a minute, you can't go vote on that until you read this amendment in front of the poll watcher, and the poll watcher has to verify you read it before you can go vote?
That's what they're saying. That's what they're
Yeah.
saying.
That's where we're going to, right? So then I took another level. I said, but let's don't stop there. So what are you going to do next? Are you going to say, now, you know what, Jimmie? Yeah, we believe you read it, but we're not sure you understand it. So now you got to take a test. Now you got to take a test before you can sign that petition. And now you got to take a test before you can go in the ballot box on the amendment. So we'll create this test now so we can see if you actually understand what's in it. Well, who's going to grade the test? Who's going to make the test? Is it multiple choice? Is it essay? And you see where where I'm going with this? This is government overreach. This is government regulating you as a citizen. What I told them in committee, I said that, you know, you guys are supposed to be conservatives, right? As conservatives, don't we believe in deregulation? Don't we believe in stopping government from issuing more regulation? Aren't we working to get rid of regulations? And what y'all are doing is creating it, right?
On top of that, they could easily, you know, they need to have rule when they go up there to the committees and the lobbyists are talking or what have you on the floor. They lie all the time about stuff. They don't tell the truth about something, or they tell you what you want to hear about it. So should they be able to do that? Mislead people also?
Hey,
right.
Jimmie, real quick on
exactly
this
right.
too. These bills are not restricting the citizens. All these bills are tailored toward the canvassers, toward the people who are seeking the ballot initiatives. There's going to be consequences for these bills that is going to scare people off on these bills. And what is your take on where they at? Because we haven't talked about SB212 was the document validity division, which faced a few hurdles this week also. So if you wouldn't mind, kind of tie those in to what those are, because do you expect 212 to come back forward?
No, 212's done, and we got that one stopped. Thanks. 209, 210, 209, 210, 212 out of the 6 are by far the worst. If you take the other 3 by themselves, you can actually make the case they're reasonable. But when you combine them with 209, 210, it just is catastrophic to the people in their initiative. And I'm gonna and yes, Mike, I'm gonna delve into all of it real quick. I want to go back and I want to tell you this because it's funny. In the committee, what I asked the legislators to do that were voting on this, I said, tell you what, if you're going to mandate that I have to read, because Mike, you're right, most of these are geared toward the canvasser, where actually this one is geared toward putting the onus on the signer. Now, indirectly, Mike, what they've done on some of these other bills that I'm going to talk about is that it's on the canvasser, but it directly affects the person who is signed. And so when I went back to them, I said, okay, if y'all are going to do this, if you're going to say, hey, you know, Jimmie, you got to read the ballot title, you got to read the 10,000 word ballot title in front of the canvasser before we allow you to sign. I said, how about put that standard on yourself? And they didn't like this. I said, okay, so let's do this. On the House floor, before you can vote on a bill on the House floor, you have to go stand in front of the House secretary and read the entire bill before she'll record your vote. So if you want to put that standard on us, right? How about put it on yourselves? I got crickets on that. They love putting mandates on you and me, but they don't want to put the same mandate on them.
Yeah.
Now, Mike, to your point on the canvassers, yeah, 209 is set up, and I'm going to talk about preponderance of evidence. Okay, a lot of these are going at the canvasser to target the canvasser, but they target the canvassers so that they can get rid of your and my signature. And how they do that, like on 209. So basically, what's going to go into law is that the Secretary of State, based off their opinion, can nullify signatures gathered. And this is how it works. They're saying that the Secretary of State, if they find that the rule wasn't followed, any kind of law was violated, which are misdemeanor, little minor things, or forgery, which is still a misdemeanor according to those, that the Secretary of State can nullify and void all the signatures that particular canvasser took. Okay, so if I took 5,000 signatures and I made a mistake on one, okay, they can do it. But here's where it gets even worse. So, okay, you say, okay, and it says in the law, but they have to have the, before they can do that, they have to have the preponderance of evidence. Well, to most people, that sounds like a lot, right? But in civil law, and that's a preponderance of evidence, what's used in civil courts, in civil cases. And it's basically nothing. It's saying that it's over 50% likely that something went wrong. And so what the Secretary of State Attorney Nathan Lee said, even in his testimony, he even called it 50% plus a feather. So basically what you can say is that in the Secretary of State's opinion, that they feel the preponderance of evidence shows 50% plus a feather that a canvasser made a mistake. And based off that opinion, they can nullify every signature that canvasser gathered. But here's the deal. In civil court, okay, you have due process. So let's say, Mike, you sue me. And you go to court and say, look, Judge, I feel like it's 50% plus one greater that Jimmie did this that caused me damage. And the judge says, okay, I'm seeing your case, so we'll let you do it. But then they go, okay, Jimmie, now you get to defend yourself and go against what Mike presented. All right? And it's called due process. There is no due process in this. Okay? If the Secretary of State's opinion that rule was broken, he just nullifies everything. And you know what due process the canvasser has? None. There is no appeal process. There is nothing. But what I got after him about, I said, okay, let's take the sponsor and the canvasser out of the equation. I signed a ballot title because I signed a petition because I want that to be on the ballot. Jimmie Cavin. And Ken Hammer went to great strengths to talk about what he's trying to do is protect the value of a signature. And he said the signature is so valuable to the individual. My signature is very valuable to me. Y'all's is valuable to you, right?
Yep.
And so if you take my signature off, let's say that canvasser gathered 10,000 signatures and he made a mistake on one, and it wasn't mine he made a mistake on. Mine's 1,136 on the list. And he made a mistake on the 30th one on it. Okay, well, you're taking my signature away where there was no mistake. So what you did then is you didn't give me due process. You're not even going to notify me my signature was null and void. You're not going to give me an opportunity to go sign another petition. You're not going to give me an opportunity to challenge what you're doing. So where's my due process? Where's my due process? You're not getting any. And that's where I have a huge problem with this. What you're doing is you're creating a situation where the Secretary of State's office can be used as a political weapon. Mm-hmm. Now, we say, well, conservatives are in charge now. Well, the hell they are. If you think Kim Hammer's a conservative, you need to go smoke some more dope. And he's going to be the next Secretary of State unless there's a primary, and they would take a strong one, right? So you're going to have Kim Hammer in there. So any ballot initiative that comes up that he doesn't care for, it puts him, or his political cronies don't care for him, it puts him in a position to politicize, use his office as a political weapon. But against who? Against the citizens. And so that's where the issue. Now, Mike, you talked about SB212, which was the scariest. We did beat that one back in the Senate committee because it was so spooky. It was designed that they were going to create a law enforcement division in the Secretary of State.
Arkansas Gestapo.
Yes, and exactly. That's exactly. And we were able to beat that one. But this is an attack on.
Yeah, it's a grab.
Direct-
It's a power grab. It's a power grab from a constitutional. It would be a power grab from a constitutional officer, which is Secretary of State, which is what he's running for. Which is really, I don't see how people don't see that.
And I think we can all agree. You guys have been very involved in this, and you guys are in tune with this. And I think we can all agree. You know, I'm 100% against abortion. You guys are too.
Yep.
I mean, hell, I'm Catholic. Okay. And gonna fight abortion till the day I die. But they used the abortion amendment that didn't get on the ballot last time. They kind of used that as almost a prop to get this going, right? And to say, oh, well, the abortion almost made it, so we got to get this in so we can keep abortion off the ballot.
And paper ballots too.
Yes, I think, well, paper, but they used abortion publicly and not paper ballots because they know everybody wants paper ballots, right? And so they used abortion as an issue to get out there publicly about it. And family council, I was shocked. I've never seen family council go after citizens' rights. You know, generally they're to defend citizens' rights. But because of the abortion issue, they kind of singled in on that. And Kim Hammer and the Swamp Party used abortion in this. But I think we can all agree, you tell me if you don't. You know, I believe in the process. And so if abortion people want to try to get something on the ballot, then they have that right. Now, I'm certainly not going to sign it, and I'm going to encourage people not to sign it. But if we tell them, if we put this roadblock up and we use that and say, okay, you don't have the right to get something on the ballot because we don't want it on the ballot. Well, then we just lose our right to get what we want on the ballot, or try to, right? And so I want to get you guys thoughts on, what do you guys think about this is called, I call them freedom thieves. This is theft of freedom. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
This is what I think about these bills, because I believe that everyone should have the right to put a ballot initiative forward. What I didn't like this last time through, and it was mainly on the abortion one and the marijuana one, was there was so much false advertisement from the people who were putting that ballot forward that people, when they were showing up to sign it, because I ran counter protest on those two bills, when people were showing up to sign those bills, they believed it was for women's health rights. And they thought, oh, well, we're getting medical freedom, and we're going to get taxes removed for feminine products, because there's multiple ballots going this last time. I think we do need to be a little bit more stricter on, hey, if you're going to put out information on your initiatives and have commercials and all this literature put out there, be honest about it. And then if you're not honest about it, I don't know what the repercussions for that could be, but some type of repercussions. But to make it to where I would be scared. I'm going to be scared if I want to run a ballot initiative after this. It is going to scare me because I'm responsible for not just my people. I'm responsible for the people that are signing the initiative too. Do they have a valid ID? Can I verify their ID is valid? Can I verify that they're citizens of this county and they didn't go sign another county's over, next door ballot initiative, because those are all things that are going to link together when this is all said and done, that they're going to go to kick out complete ballot initiatives because of one little infraction somewhere, when you could have just said, hey, let's strengthen our definitions and not touch this whatsoever, because I think definitions could have been strengthened, but this is government overreach at its best.
Because
and it's going to hold the initiative, people seeking to get an initiative, they're going to be hesitant now, which is what I see is kind of what they're seeking, is to make that to where you're scared to put something forward because you're afraid of the legal ramifications now. And that's scary to me. And a
lot of work goes into these petitions.
Well,
I don't think people realize how much work goes into this, how much time people take to canvass people, and how many, especially when you have to have a drastic amount of signatures, it's just not right to make it so hard, they'll say, well, they're going to throw it out anyway. You don't want it to that point to where people don't want to do it because, well, the establishment doesn't want this, so it'll never make it. Something will go wrong. Well, that's not the right way for us to think.
Something that caught me as comical, which I think Jimmie will speak on this too. This caught me really comical when one of the legislators said this to me. Well, Mike, the canvassers, we have a problem with canvassers. Okay, you have a problem with canvassers. Why don't you have a problem with lobbyists? Because to ballot initiatives, canvassers are to ballot initiative what lobbyists are to legislators. If you got a problem with canvassers, do away with the lobbyists too then, because that's exactly what a lobbyist is. And and worse than what a canvasser is, because they're in there, half of these bills that we're seeing right now, they're not because a legislator said, hey, I want to come up with a new bill, but I've spent my whole off time over the last 12 months trying to figure out what's going to help the Arkansans, the state, to do this. No, a lobbyist has created these bills. Yeah. A lobbyist has paid these legislators to run for elections, get elected, and then they're paying them to make sure that these make it through committees. That's
and they know how to mislead
what's happening.
They know exactly how to mislead you.
Yes.
They talk about canvassers. Canvassers are normally just everyday Joes like me or you guys going around trying to get some signatures or something they believe in. They like
creating jobs for Arkansans.
Lobbyists
a lot of time
are professional. That's going to make a lot of people want. Lobbyists are pretty much professional liars a lot of times.
And very rich.
This whole thing is designed to go after grassroots initiatives, okay? Because here's the thing, and I think y'all agree with me. Everything they're pushing through will not stop big money, big out-of-state money for big amendments, okay? What this will stop is amendments for FOIA, citizen-driven amendments, something we want to do. What people need to understand is these laws will not even slow down casino amendment or money for casino initiatives or amendments, money for marijuana amendments, any kind of big outside money where big money is involved. This doesn't phase those folks a bit. They'll just write a little bigger check to get this done, right? What this is designed to do is stifle efforts that are truly from the citizens. So, Mike, if you got a ballot initiative, you want to see a change in the amendment for something like for military, right? Mm-hmm. Something that would benefit the military.
And we need it.
So, Mike, you come up with that, and so you go around and you start in Hot Springs County and you build support, and then you go around the state and you build support. And so you form a ballot question committee. Hey, I got enough support for this. And so you go through the steps with Arkansas Attorney General, which is jumping through hoops. And you get that and you say, okay, now we're to the point we can ask for signatures to get this on the ballot. This is what affects you. Affects you on that, okay? It doesn't affect marijuana. It doesn't affect those outside deals, right? It's designed to stop Mike Schnakel from getting a citizen initiative out.
Yep.
Is that the way y'all see it?
Yeah. They want to run the government. They want you to sit back and watch.
We're concerned about Chinese interference because, we hear it from Donald Trump all the time, and I agree we have a lot of Chinese interference in the United States. We hear it from Sarah Huckabee that, we want to kick China out of Arkansas. Well, if you want to kick China out of Arkansas, you need to kick Walmart out. You need to kick Target out. You need to kick all these other businesses out. You need to kick some of these seed growing factories that are in Arkansas out. There's so much hypocrisy in government that is unbelievable. And this is the first time that I have gotten involved in statewide legislation and being able to see it from cradle to grave. And it is disappointing. And you go and speak in front of these committees thinking your voice is going to make a difference. The only thing that makes a difference is hundreds of thousands of Arkansans saying no. And that's what killed HB1564 last week. And that's what killed HB1567 last week. There was so much behind it because everyone in the media got behind it all as one concerted effort with a lot of players within the industry to get these killed. And in Arkansas first, Jimmie Cavin, Saline Hardliners, guys, you need to talk to your friends, your family, your relatives, your church groups. They need to be tuning in to broadcast like this, because this is where you start at. You want to get these bills up front. Once they've gotten through a committee, they're tough. If you can get these bills killed up front while they're getting ready to come to a committee, that is your best chance for success. Jimmie, Keith, where y'all at on that?
Oh,
No, I agree that it takes a lot. We proved that in 2023 with the attacks on the freedom of information. And a lot of times it takes bipartisan efforts, right? And so last week I spent a lot of time talking to liberals, and they spent a lot of time talking to me because there's issues we can lock arms on. Okay, there are things we can agree on, and mostly those issues come around freedom. And so it takes everybody getting. Guys, y'all have heard me say this before. As conservatives, we're lazy. We're lazy. We like to sit on our ass on the couch and bitch at the TV, right? We want to yell. Fox News, Fox News is reporting on stuff. We want to sit on the couch, yell at the TV.
Monday morning quarterbacking.
Yeah, doesn't get anything done.
Because we think a million people out there are doing the same thing, doing that, speaking for us, and we think we elected all these great conservatives. So okay, I'm going to watch my conservative do the work for me.
Yeah, and we won't get off our ass. And this is how you end up with a swamp party. What I tell everybody is Donald Trump is working overtime to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C., and hell, at our state capitol, Governor Sanders and these other swamp people are working to expand it.
They're digging in.
Yeah. And so it's and we think, Jennifer alluded to this during the election. Jennifer Lancaster alluded to this during the election process. And she told everybody, she said, look, Trump is not going to come save us, because he's not. I mean, he's got his thing to do in Washington, D.C. We have to get off our butt in the state and fight our swamp. He's only one guy, and he's doing a hell of a job already, right? Doing a hell of a job. But you know what? That's in Washington, D.C. He's taking care of that. And we have to get proactive like he's been. And we have to go to our own state capitol. We have to drain our own swamp. And so when we have guys like y'all, Kevin, Keith, and Mike, who are actually getting out and active in draining the swamp in Arkansas, what we've got to do is spread that message. What we got to do is spread that message and get more people out there. You've seen me write about it. The swamp's full of cottonmouths. Well, you know what? I'm not scared to wrestle cottonmouths. And we go to the Capitol every week, and you guys do it too. And we've got a whole crew that they go to the state capitol, and what do? We wrestle cottonmouths. We just need more people out there to drain a swamp. You got to get knee deep in it.
Yep.
Well, hey, I got here right now. Let's tell them about how they can get into it right now. I got Arkansas First pulled up. Let's take a look at that. And this is how you guys can keep informed on what's going on out there. I can get it, switch over to my screen now. Can y'all see this? This is Arkansas First. This is our
yes. There you go.
Okay, Jimmie's one of our main contributors on here. We got Mr. Jack on here, Elizabeth, Miss Cody Crumpton, and Miss Jennifer Lancaster. She just did a piece not too long ago. If y'all want to get involved, if y'all want to understand what's going on, come to Arkansas First. And
absolutely.
Jimmie,
well, that's where you can find us. So you can find you guys, Saline Hardliners, Arkansas First, Mike,
Jimmie's podcast.
What we try to do now, we try to dig in and bring you facts and expose things, bring you the facts on legislation. Of course, when I write, I'm going to do my research and I investigate not just with legislature. I investigate corruption all over the state, wrongdoing all over the state, and I bring it to you. And you guys know me that my hashtag's facts, not fiction. And I'm going to bring you the facts and the research and the records and the documents. Now, I'm going to give you my opinion on what I find. And what I tell people is your opinion on what I find may be different, but that's fine. I want you to sound off. I want you to sound off with your opinion. That's one thing about Arkansas First that I know you three love, is when we put things out, we want people to sound off on it. And if their opinion is different than Mike's thick skin, hey, give me your opinion. Give me your opinion.
Do we have any
Dialogue,
questions? Do we have
dialogue
any
will equal
questions?
success, because if you can't talk to anyone and you can't reason with each other, you will never move forward in anything that we're doing. And we may disagree on one subject, but we disagree or agree on 10 others. Well, that one that we disagree on, hey, show up and help. I mean, when you show up at the Capitol, I'll say this, first time this year, you walk into those doors, you walk in, there's all this marble, all these guys running around in these fancy suits, and you start talking to them because they're real cold-shouldered. You're paying their salaries. They work for you. You are the one that should be giving them direction. Their direction should be coming from no one else other than their constituents. And if you are not involved in their decision-making process, do not hold them responsible for a decision they make because you wasn't willing to speak up or speak out. And that's what we're trying to embolden people to do on these broadcasts. Ask us questions on this broadcast. We got Jimmie Cavin on tonight. We had Tim Crawley on tonight. I mean, we're going to have Randy Sams on. I mean, we're going to have different people on, and we only get to glaze what is happening at the Capitol because there's 30, 40 bills running on any given day. And we try to pick out the ones that are affecting us the most, the ones that are going to make a difference in your lives, and bring those to you. But if you have something out there that you want us to work on, send us an email, send us a message. We'll look into it.
Clean Hardliners at gmail.com is our email, and we're Saline County Saline Hardliners to find us on Facebook. And I will tell a quick story, and Jimmie probably can relate he's probably the only one who can relate to this story here. I'm going to tell it real quick about people not being totally informed when they go vote for some amendment or something. And I realistically think when I was a kid, it was probably worse about people not reading things, just hearing that's good and they go vote for it. People I watched when I worked at polls, people do tend to research things a little better nowadays than they used to, I feel like. But anyway, real quick, Park Hill in North Little Rock. Jimmie's familiar with that, right?
What's that?
Park Hill in North Little Rock. Years ago,
Yes.
they made not Park Hill in North Little Rock is dry. Okay, that precinct is dry, and the rest of the county's not. So this old lady was I was a kid, and she asked. They voted alcohol when they voted the alcohol out. She asked the cashier. She goes, "Where's the beer? I always buy my beer every week." And they said, "Well, they just voted out alcohol on JFK on John F. Kennedy Boulevard." She said, "Well, I voted for that, but I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for getting rid of beer. I voted for getting rid of hard liquor." Well, when you did that, you also knocked your beer out. So that's just a funny little story of people that don't pay attention. You got to really pay attention to this stuff when you vote for it, because you mislead things.
You bring up such a good point, Keith, because what most people don't get is Keith and I go back to a time there was no internet, and we actually go back in time to our internet was what's called encyclopedias.
Yeah, world book.
Okay, all right, and so to your point though, Mike, is that excuse is no longer there. Anybody with an iPhone has access to information.
Yep.
And so the excuse of going, well, I didn't have access. I don't know what to do. No, you got access now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I don't know if anybody watches Last Man Standing when it was on, but there was a scene with when his neighbor was sitting there talking to his wife, and his wife was talking to him, and he had his iPhone in his hand, and she said, you know, is that iPhone more interesting than me? And he said, well, it does have every piece of information ever known to man. And it was a funny deal, but when you think about it, here, right here, see that? That
More powerful than what put the
thing,
man on the moon.
yeah, that little thing basically has every piece of information known to man in it. Right? So to Keith's point, you have the information, the ability to get it. It's just if you're going to get off your lazy ass and do it. And but they bank on you being lazy.
Yeah.
They bank on you not caring, right? Let's tell the truth. Liberals aren't lazy, are they, guys?
No, the
No,
Democrats
they
are
used-
very organized and very active, and we seen it in the president's speech the other night. They stick together. There was no breaking their lines the other night.
They
It
were
was
all
disgrace-
rude.
As
They were all
disgraceful,
rude.
it was disgraceful. I mean, it was disgraceful to the people that
That's
were
horrible.
there.
They're horrible.
It was disgraceful to the citizens of the United States, and I think they're going to keep paying for it
Well,
until they learn a
They
lesson.
didn't do themselves any favor. I can guarantee you that.
N-
But
no, no.
which is fine with me. They can sit back and act stupid and just make themselves look bad. That's great. That's less work we have to do. But
But they
but-
are organized. I'll give them that. If
we
they're
don't
anything
have
organized.
much time. We're fixing to have to be closing out here. But I want the last thing I will say is everybody follow Arkansas First News, Saline Hardliners. Jimmy's got Fact or Fiction. Candy's got a couple of podcasts. And just tune in and watch us. And hey, don't feel like you can't go to the Capitol yourself, folks.
Yep.
It is public. I mean, a lot of people think, well, can I go in there? I don't know if I can go in. Yeah, you can go in there. You pay taxes. You can go in there. So if something's passionate to you, get up there and talk about it. You don't have to go through us. You can go all by yourself. You know, like Tim Crawley, he's not a political guy, but he picked up on an issue that was going to basically ruin his livelihood and an industry that he was passionate about.
Yep.
So, you know, that's what normally brings people to the table is something that is in their backyard. So,
Yeah, I
If it
think
ain't in
people
your
go-
backyard
go-
today, it'll be in
go-
your backyard tomorrow.
that's right.
Yeah, and go to the Capitol. Go to the Capitol. Anybody can walk into the Capitol. Now, granted, I didn't know they had a dress code till today. And, so
Don't
when-
wear a pink shirt with two buttons. Make
With
sure
two
you
buttons
button up,
unbuttoned.
baby. Button
and,
up.
but
I
yeah,
Nobody
see-
wants to see your
I
chest.
thought I wasn't supposed to be in there.
do what?
I said, my first time walking the Capitol, I'm like, it's just easy. I just walked right in. They just got to
Jimmie
know.
Cavin, you come back in here again, we're kicking you out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. And that's-
Inappropriate.
to that point, one thing I want to add, go to Facebook in Arkansas First News Facebook page. And it's Arkansas, the #1 ST News, and go to the Facebook page and you can find a ton of information, our articles and everything on there. I encourage you to go there. And then you can find the funny little story about me today and my shirt and everything, which I think you know, the great thing about that is I thought it was
Oh.
funny when they came and told me not, you know, to button my shirt. And because I
You should
actually
just
thought it
took
was
your
funny.
shirt. You should just took your shirt off.
I'm known to do it. I'm known to do it. And but to me, it was really petty, but at the same time, I thought it was funny, right?
Yeah.
Because and so that actually created a lighthearted moment that we all need every now and then. So they actually did us all a favor by doing that, right? And so
Well, guys, we're gonna back out of here, and it's been great. Thanks, Jimmy, for coming on.
anytime I tell you, you guys do a
Mike,
great
thanks for
job.
being here again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah, we're gonna have
Thursday
you back.
night,
Keep
8
doing it.
o'clock. Every Thursday night,
And,
8
and the
o'clock.
session's still
Saline
going.
Hardliners.
And Jimmy and Mike, and I've been going out there some, but Jimmy and Mike keep beating the bushes down there at the Capitol, and wake them up, get them going, and we're going to be out. This is Saline County out.
Thanks, guys.
Night.
Thanks.